So next up in the seatbelt removal will be these two female ends for the rear seat belts. As you can see, if you can see, there is a bolt right back there behind this panel right here, and the way that's going to have to be accessed is from the back side in here. So we're going to release that now. So these buckles right here for the rear, those are not very accessible. I couldn't get a shallow socket and ratchet underneath of that bar right there, so I did have to use an adjustable wrench since all my other wrenches are at work, but it wasn't too bad. It's doable. Once you break it loose, it's finger tight and comes right out. So there we have that. Alright guys, so what we have now is we're going to remove these rear door panels, interior trim. It's how you would get to the window regulator, glass, to release it, all that fun stuff. But I'm going to show you how to take that stuff off right now. So right here we have your rear door panel, or I'm calling it a door panel, but it's your rear interior trim. So first things first, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to pop this little push pin out, and then this whole black this whole black trim piece will pop off, and then that'll give you access to the seat belt on the inside of the door panel. Pop that out. Unclip it. Now you see on the belt there's a little channel there. You got to get the belt into that channel, slide it out of the trim piece. And I take that trim piece out first because, like I said, I take that trim panel off first so I can kind of use it as a tray for the rest of the screws and whatnot for the actual rear trim panel. Kind of makes it easier, kind of keeps it organized, and you aren't going to lose as much. So let's go ahead and continue on. Alright, so next up what we got to do is we got to pop this cover up, this top trim panel off of your window crank. Of course it's on there pretty good. There we go. Get that trim cover off of your window crank from the rear. Take the screw out of the center of it. That whole assembly will come out of the splines, the window regulator. Take that whole assembly, put it on your makeshift tray right there, and continue on. Alright, so next up we got this little tiny trim piece. Kinda holds the weather stripping in place. You really don't have to take this off, I guess, but makes it a little bit easier to get this stuff out of the way of the door panel, as it does wrap around that seam right there. And then from there you just pretty much make sure you get behind the board and pop those clips off. Side straight up. And there you have it. You can access the speaker. Got that trim panel off. Like I said, you can now access the seat belt, window regulator. You just got to pull this plastic off, which we're going to go ahead and do that now, because because we're probably not going to be needing that. Just gonna rip that stuff off, and that's removing the rear trim panel on the Cabriolet. The other side, I did the passenger side. Driver side's obviously going to be exactly the same. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and continue on removing some more stuff and take you along with me. So that's it. Alright, so now that we have access to it, we're going to go ahead and take a 17mm and we're going to remove these seat belts from the vehicle. Alright, so now with the rear trim panel off, we disconnected all the speakers. So this wiring can go ahead and get pulled through there onto this side. Slowly getting this thing further and further out. The wiring harness does go through the body. You can kind of see that little bit of light right there, this grommet. Goes to the underside. That I'm not real sure where that goes, but we'll figure it out and report back. As well as on this side, we got this speaker connection. Not going to need this because we don't need audio. Race car. And really next up, other than getting under the car and getting that passenger side, we're just going to have to follow this harness back. You can see it goes back into the trunk area, gives you your tail lights and whatever's in the rear lid, license plate lights. So that's going to be next up, is to get the rest of that harness out of the back. We're going to have to pull a couple trim panels and